The PFL's third and final World Tournament event goes down this Friday in Hollywood, Florida on August 21st and will feature the final three championship bouts of the year, for the tournament that is. We will see Fabian Edwards versus Dalton Rosta for the middleweight championship, UFC veteran Alexandr Romanov versus Oleg Popov in the heavyweight division, and in the light heavyweight championship fight we will see another UFC veteran and PFL former champion Antonio Carlos Jr. taking on Sullivan Cauley. Fabian Edwards, brother of former UFC welterweight champion Leon Rocky Edwards, is back, and he is one half of the middleweight championship fight this coming Friday, and he is looking to capitalize on an incredible 2025 that he has put together thus far. He started the tournament in April with a TKO second round finish over former PFL champion Impa Kasanganay, and in his second victory of the tournament he would get a decision win over Joshua Silveira, a former title challenger for the PFL. And his only two losses over the last 3 years, dating back to May of 2022, have come against the same man, and that is Johnny Eblen. The first of the two losses was in September of 2023 for the Bellator Championship, and the second loss to Eblen would be in the PFL Battle of the Giant Supercard, where he would lose the championship bout there as well. But Fabian Edwards' resume is actually quite impressive, not to mention the two that we already discussed for 2025, but he also holds victories over Aaron Jeffrey, Gegard Mousasi, and Lyoto Machida, former UFC legend and champion. All but 4 bouts of the 19-fight professional career of Fabian Edwards have been under the Bellator/PFL banner, but he has yet to get gold wrapped around his waist, and now this could be his final opportunity to do just that. But in order to do so, he will have to take out Hercules himself, and that is none other than the 29-year-old Dalton Rosta, who is 11-1 as a professional with 5 of those wins by way of stoppage, and he comes into this fight on a 3-fight win streak, and the 2 wins during this tournament are quite impressive, just like Fabian. The first was a victory and finish over former PFL champion Sadibou C via second round submission, and the second victory was a decision over Aaron Jeffrey. And that victory over Jeffrey in June was a get-right revenge win for Rosta, because his only professional loss in his career was to Aaron Jeffrey, and that was in August of 2023 at Bellator 298. Outside of that, Jeffrey has been perfect in every single other one of his bouts, and he is a legitimate homegrown talent of Bellator, having all 12 of his professional bouts under their banner. In typical Alexandr Romanov fashion, he got to this championship fight in kind of a weird way. And that's not because he got a victory against Tim Johnson via first round submission in his first fight of the tournament, but it's because his second fight was a no contest against Valentin Moldavsky, and that fight would be stopped due to an accidental groin strike. And during Romanov's UFC run that would last from September 2020 to November of 2024, he would actually rack up a pretty decent record, 7 wins to just 3 losses. However, it did not end well for Romanov, as he would lose 3 of his last 5 bouts heading out of the company. At 34 years old, he is, however, right in his prime, and he's finished 16 of his 19 victories, and been finished in 2 of his 3 losses, so on his side of things, this fight likely doesn't go the distance, but Oleg Popov's stats aren't quite as impressive in terms of the finishing percentage, because Popov has finished 12 out of 21 of his wins, with 9 of them being by decision, and only been finished 1 time. Heading into last year's PFL Championship fight against Denis Goltsov, Oleg Popov was riding a 17-fight win streak that spanned all the way back to July of 2018. He would pick up victories over Steve Mowry, Davion Franklin, and Linton Vassell en route to getting to that championship fight. However, he would not be able to muster up enough to get one more victory to get the belt wrapped around his waist, and that is because he ran into the machine that was Denis Goltsov, who would finish him in the first round with a submission. And for the 2025 tournament, Popov has decision wins over Carl Williams and Rodrigo Nascimento, both UFC veterans. I'll be curious to see what version of Romanov shows up, if it's the very heavy version or the leaner version that we would see him go back and forth with in the UFC, because Popov is not the biggest heavyweight by any means. And finally, the light heavyweight champion will be determined between shoeface Antonio Carlos Jr. and Sullivan Cauley. After Antonio Carlos Jr.'s multi-year, multi-fight stretch in the UFC, he would join the PFL roster in April of 2021, and since then has only lost 1 fight in the promotion, and that was in the 2024 season last year, where he would lose a decision to Alex Pelosi. Outside of that, he has found great success en route to becoming the 2021 champion by defeating and submitting Martine Hamlet, and for the 2024 2025 tournament, he has wins over Carl Moore and Simeon Powell, both by decision. And for the Bellator homegrown talent and 29-year-old Sullivan Cauley, he is 8-1 as a professional, with his only loss coming in March of 2023 to Luke Traynor. Since then, he has won 3 fights in a row, with 2 of them by stoppage against Hamzan Salim and Alex Pelosi, and has a decision win over former UFC veteran Phil Davis. So in the heavyweight and light heavyweight championship bouts, it's possible that 2 former UFC veterans can get gold wrapped around their waist, and for Carlos Jr., it would be his second time since joining the Professional Fighters League. And in that main event middleweight bout, these two have a lot of heat and hatred for one another going into this bout, Fabian Edwards and Dalton Rosta. So I want to get your thoughts on this card and your predictions down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, because we are on the road to reaching 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and any and all support is greatly appreciated. To coincide with previews heading into each weekend, I also recap the most meaningful results in the aftermath of every card, and I give my thoughts and opinions on MMA news and fight announcements. You can also join the community on social media at Verbal Spar MMA on X, Instagram, and TikTok, and you can follow on your favorite audio listening platforms such as Spotify and Apple, where every Monday and Friday podcast episodes release there. Have a great weekend, enjoy the fights, and I will see you all in the next video.